Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia.
Fansville.
Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Delicious.
Where every day is Saturday and everyone's a fan, even babies.
Fan babies.
And the seasons never change because the only season is college football season. Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. 250-plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM dial near you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80, and, of course, simulcast live on most weekdays on ESPN News. The number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Let me get this out of the way first. If you hear a little sound in my voice, I sound a little different today. I'm going to be sounding a little bit different for a while. Ladies and gentlemen, reasons why is because I had throat surgery. Little complications took place with my vocal cords, and as a result, the man also known as Screaming A. Smith has been prohibited from screaming by doctor's orders. So, Jonathan, Kat, everybody else in between, I am here. I am ready to go. I have a voice. I can talk, but I have to restrict myself from going off volume-wise a little bit. That is why you'll hear me a bit more monotone than usual. It actually ticks me off because I'm quite excited about today's show because I got a bevy of topics to get into. Make no mistake about it. I will be bringing up your president, Trump, and what Tiger Woods had to say. I definitely will be bringing up Kobe Bryant and his words to diehard fans of himself and the Los Angeles Lakers, giving LeBron James a problem. I'll be talking about that. I'll be getting into a lot of football because I really don't understand some of the things going on throughout the National Football League, from the helmet rule to Dez Bryant not finding a job, to this panic that seems to be materializing in Philadelphia because Carson Wentz isn't ready to go. All those things I will talk about, but I do need to say this before I say anything else. These New York Yankees, as far back as 9.5 games to the Boston Red Sox in the American League East, everybody is making such a big deal. The Yankees have pulled within 6 games. Okay, y'all want to make a big deal about the fact that they beat the worst team in baseball? Go right ahead. The Baltimore Orioles stink. They're god-awful. We know this. Everybody knows this. Boo-Boo the Fool knows this. Let's stop lying to one another. Let's stop acting like we don't know what the hell is going on. The reality of the situation is very, very clear. The Baltimore Orioles are god-awful. They're horrible. And if you can't beat the Baltimore Orioles, who, by the way, stand 52.5 games back of the Boston Red Sox within their own American League East division, what else can I say to you? The Kansas City Royals are 40-91. The Baltimore Orioles are worse. The Texas Rangers are 58-74 in last place in the American League West. The Baltimore Orioles are worse. The Miami Marlins are 53-79. Last place in the National League East. The Baltimore Orioles are worse. The Cincinnati Reds are 56-75, 19 games below 500. The Baltimore Orioles are worse. The Padres, the San Diego Padres, are 33.5 games under 500. In last place in the National League West, the Baltimore Orioles are worse. The Baltimore Orioles are 37-94. 37-94. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 67 games below 500. They are 52.5 games out of first place within their own division. The Yankees sweep them in 4 games, and y'all want to act like something special is happening. The hell is wrong with y'all? Wake up and smell the Old Spice. The Yankees are 6 games back. Boston has lost 3 straight. We understand that. But they still have Martinez, and they still have Betts. And Chris Sale and Porcello and those boys will be there. If you think for 1 second that this is some reason to get excited, all up in a tizzy, like the Yankees going to do something. Aaron Judge's wrist is still hurting. Gary Sanchez's groin is still hurting. Severino and Tanaka, I can appreciate what they've done. And CeCe Sabathia is that age-old lion. I get all of that, ladies and gentlemen. See, I got to monitor my voice. I got to be careful because I'm getting excited right now because I'm getting ticked off just thinking about it. Because I didn't want my Yankees to be in this position. But 6 games out, even though they're creeping up, I am not excited. Why? Because you beat the Orioles. And see, this is the problem that I have. It's what I have with people, with Mets fans. It's what I have with folks that are not accustomed to winning and to me don't understand what winning is all about. When you beat a scrub team, what have you accomplished? You know, it's like the equivalent of being the tallest dude in the little man's contest. You understand? What are you going to do, like reality TV or whatever? Look, I'm taller than you. Really? You want a cookie? I mean, can we stop this nonsense? The Yankees are 6 games out. Boston's losing a few games. I get it. I can appreciate it. The Yankees played them 6 more times. I get it. I understand it. But let's pump the brakes. We all know that they're pitching, and Happ has been good. But Happ wasn't great when he came over from Toronto. We know who was raving about him. We all wanted DeGrom. But the Mets weren't willing to deal with that. Cashman called, but they weren't willing to deal. That's okay. We got it. You really, really want to, bet your house on Tanaka or Severino when you've seen him have a couple of down moments in big situations? Aroldis Chapman is your closer. The man got bad knees. How the hell you got bad knees being a closer? Well, you're jogging from the dugout to the bullpen. That's about it. How the hell do you have bad knees? And nobody's asked this question. Is it just me? I got a bad voice. I'm trying to be cool. Vocal cords were a bit inflamed. I've been prohibited from doctors from yelling. Okay? Not that anything was wrong with my vocal cords. I was absolutely fine. Until the surgery irritated it a little bit, but that's a story for another day. They still did a great job with me, and I appreciate it. At the end of the day, all I'm saying is that I'm trying to be cool. I've been prohibited from losing my emotions. But it's hard to contain myself. My producers are sitting here laughing at me right now. I'm getting really ticked off just thinking about it. What the hell is wrong with you people? I'm trying to tell you right now, the way the Baltimore Orioles look, I could get some people right here at ESPN, some softball players that might give them a run for their money. They're that bad. They're that bad. And y'all want to act like it's a big deal. I'll talk to my man Tim Kurkjian at 30 minutes past hour number 1 about those Orioles, about these Yankees, and about the way things are looking in Major League Baseball in Houston and L.A. and beyond. Chicago's on a roll, too. I'll get into all of that. But I just wanted to get that off my chest because it really aggravates me. Jansen in L.A. giving up home runs as a closer. That's aggravating me because my ideal World Series would be the Yankees against the Dodgers. And he's ruining that. Well, they're ruining that to some degree, but I digress. My point is that everybody needs to pump the brakes and calm down. That's story number 1. Story number 2 on my mind. The reports say that Dez Bryant, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys, that wide receiver that got let go a few months ago, and then the Cowboys talked about him like a dog thereafter, leaking information and talking about what a troubled individual he was, his presence in the locker room. Clearly, it was an effort to protect Dak Prescott. We can slice it any way we want to, but that's what this comes down to. Now that Dez Bryant is out of a job, considering the fact that Marquise Lee had that nasty injury off of that hit to his knee, Marquise Lee for the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver, he's gone for the year, out with an ACL tear. Feel real bad for him because I like him a lot. Everybody's looking at that and they're talking about, all right, Jacksonville, you could go after Dez Bryant. Let me be very clear. Dez Bryant would be a damn fool to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He'd be a damn fool to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars for one reason and one reason only. Blake Bortles. Dallas is saying Dez Bryant lost a step. Dallas is saying that we could do better without him. The Dallas Cowboys could have had the chance to keep Dez Bryant on board for less money and didn't even take that chance. Dez Bryant no longer gained separation the way he once did. Dez Bryant is no longer open even if he's not open. He's not the player that he used to be, but he was still the best they had. He's still pretty damn good. He's still a big physical receiver, but somebody with a lot to prove. So if you're Dez Bryant and you have a lot to prove, but you're a wide receiver. That means proving it is going to rely pretty much upon the quarterback throwing you the damn football. So you got to make sure you're with that guy. That's why when I heard the reports that Dez Bryant turned down a $5 million offer from the Cleveland Browns, I didn't sniff at it too much. Now, some people will be like, look, man, he's not understanding. He ain't what he used to be. And, he just turned down money. Others are attributing it to his pride, his ego, and saying, you know what, when you're used to and you're accustomed to getting a certain amount of money, and then all of a sudden you're not getting that money anymore, that's going to be a difficult position for you to be in. And that's not going to be that easy for you to accept. Blah, 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 blah. I get all of that. That's not the problem that Dez Bryant has. If I'm Dez Bryant, I turned down that offer pretty simply because Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield potentially throwing me the football ain't going to get it done. And if that ain't going to get it done, damn sure Blake Bortles throwing me the football ain't going to get it done. We all know how much the Jacksonville Jaguars like to run the football. We all know that their game is going to be predicated on giving the ball to Leonard Fournette as much as they possibly can. We get all of that. So if we understand that, why would you go to the Jacksonville Jaguars situation? You don't want to go to New England if you're Dez Bryant, even though Tom Brady is familiar with Dez Bryant a little bit, but he doesn't make those decisions according to his interview with WEEI this morning that he abruptly ended, by the way, which is something I'll talk about a little bit later. Dez Bryant going to New England don't make any sense. If Dez Bryant was Julian Edelman or Danny Amendola, yes, it would. Dez Bryant being in New England, a big physical guy, hell, they got Gronkowski at the tight end spot for that. You don't need him taking up space, getting in the way of Gronkowski. You need a wide out that you can throw the football to outside the numbers that can extend the field. That's not Dez Bryant. And it ain't Tom Brady. And you know why it's not Tom Brady? Because that would be Tom Brady with Dez Bryant, and that wouldn't work. Now, if you're Aaron Rodgers, who, unlike Tom Brady, has the ability to extend plays with his feet and his mobility, plus the arm strength and the accuracy and the football acumen to go with that mobility, that is the ideal situation for Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant should be on the phone trying to get to Green Bay. The only other situation that might be worthy is Pittsburgh because of Antonio Brown with Big Ben and the likely presence of Le'Veon Bell once the season starts. Now, he won't get as many touches, but he'll be more open because you got to preoccupy yourself with those two dudes. And that is what we're talking about here. Dez Bryant doesn't need to go to Jacksonville with Blake Bortles, just like he didn't need to be in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield or Tyrod Taylor. He didn't need that. What he needs more than anything else is to play with an elite quarterback with the skill set that buys you enough time that Dez Bryant could find himself open to get some receptions to remind the NFL of what he still has in him. That's what Dez Bryant needs. That's what Dez Bryant needs. Here's what the NFL needs. They need to be injected with some degree of common sense. The reality of the situation is very, very clear. The NFL with this new helmet rule, and they're looking into it, making modifications and what have you. This hit on Marcus Lee, everybody's bringing that up or whatever. The NFL is trying to eradicate helmet hits. That's what they're trying to do. Not just helmet hits to the head. Not just that. They're not just trying to eradicate that. They're not just trying to do that. But what they're also trying to do is this. The NFL doesn't want helmet to helmet hits, but they also don't want you leading with your helmet. Here's my thing. They need to be very, very clear with their language. I mean, Adam Schefter, the great Adam Schefter, and all of these folks teach us this every day. We learn more football from them than anybody. Look, you cannot lower your shoulders without lowering your head. If you lower any part of your body, your head's going to lower too. I could sit up there and be on my tippy toes, right? And I stand 6'1". If I lower it down to my heels and make myself flat-footed, I'm 6 feet, ain't I? Last time I checked, I don't stay 6'1" and my head is still up there. Your head follows your body, period. So if your body lowers, your head's going to lower. What the NFL is specifying, and they just need to say it We want you to try to do everything that you can to avoid using your helmet to connect to somebody's body. Make sure you hit them with the shoulders, your arms, etc. Avoid the helmet hitting an opponent. Period. Everything you should do should be predicated on trying to make that happen. That's what the NFL says. But the NFL has taken a step back in this regard. And thank God they have somebody like Adam Schefter. Thank God they have somebody like him. Because when he's around, you want to watch football. When you want to watch football with him, okay, obviously it's going to make you watch the games. And he makes it a bit more tolerant to listen to these ridiculous rules that the NFL is always trying to implement all the daggone time. But I digress. My point in saying that is this. The NFL, think about the amount of penalties they've called in the preseason. If they do this in the regular season, it's going to take up more time. It's going to lengthen the game, and it's going to make it that much more unattractive to watch football. It's already 3 hours long. Now, you might love your football, but you want to see football. You don't want to see zebras blowing their whistles, stalling plays. You don't want that happening. You want to see the actual games being played. You want to see the throws of action. It's a reason why basketball is elevating in popularity. And I'm here to tell y'all right now, football's lucky they're only 16 games a year. Because of those 16 games, you're successful in making sure that your sport is seen as an event because it's weekly. It's not 82 games like basketball. It's not 162 games like it's baseball. I think baseball needs to lower the amount of its season from 162 to about 150 games. That's what I think baseball needs to do. I think basketball is perfect. And I think football is in danger of really messing itself up with so many different excuses to stall the actions of a game. Just think about it for a second. And I say something, and it sounds very, very, very mundane. Sounds very, very elementary. But just think about this for a second. You're watching guys run up and down the court, ladies and gentlemen, in the sport of basketball. In football, take out the no huddle for a second. Run and play 3 yards. We get up, huddle. Go to the line of scrimmage, call a play. Pass incomplete. We come back to a huddle. We go to the line of scrimmage. We throw a pass completion, 10 yards, first down, blah, blah, blah. Huddle. There are so many different things that stop the action in a game that, to me, the NFL, the more rules it implements, albeit for obvious reasons with their concerns about health issues, and they're not blameless in that. Players have something to do with that, too. Just look at the lawsuits from some of these retired players and think about the $500 million plus that the NFL has doled out due to the concussion issue, and you can understand their concern. So it's not like they're complete culprits in all of this. But in the end, you've got to do something to make sure you protect the fluidity of the game, because that's one of the elements that makes it so attractive. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. One other item that I wanted to get to before the break. Tiger Woods was addressed by the media over the weekend because, as you know, he's friends with the president and, has played golf with the president. He's going out to dinner with the president even before he was the president and all of this other stuff. And in the times that we're living in, anybody that's had that kind of relationship or is believed to still have that kind of relationship with the president, you're going to get asked those questions, particularly in the world of sports, because when we've heard from the president about sports, it's usually a complaint about the NFL anthem issue. Well, this has nothing to do with that. This is about the relationship one of the greatest golfers the world has ever seen has had over the years with the president. Tiger Woods was asked about his relationship with the president. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I've known Donald for a number of years. We've played the golf together, had dinner together, and so I've known him, pre-presidency and obviously during his presidency.
That's what he said about their relationship. But when he talked about needing to respect the office, he threw people aback a little bit with that. But here's what he had to say about that.
He's the president of the United States, and you have to respect the office. And no matter who's in the office, he may like, dislike, personality, or the politics. But we all must respect the office.
Do you have anything more broadly to say about the state, I guess, the discourse of race relations?
No, I just finished 72 holes and really hungry.
You must respect the office. That's what he said about the presidency of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, I agree with him, and I'll explain why a little bit later. Not before I talk to my man Tim Kurkjian, though. Tim Kurkjian, and more talk up next with yours truly, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
My honor and privilege, as always, to have my next guest on the line with me, a colleague here at ESPN, foremost authority as far as I'm concerned on all things Major League Baseball. The great Tim Kurkjian, MLB analyst extraordinaire for ESPN, is right here with yours truly. Tim, how are you, buddy? How's everything?
I'm well, Stephen A. How you doing?
Now, Tim, you know I love you, buddy. You know that. But you also know that behind your back, I consistently complain because I say that you and Buster Olney love coming on the show just to laugh at me because I'm always complaining about my Yankees. And so nothing's going to change, Tim Kurkjian. Nothing's going to change here. They're six games back. 6 games, but everybody's acting like it's so special. You just swept the worst team in baseball in the Baltimore Orioles. How are you feeling about the Yankees right now?
Look, I would feel great about the Yankees if I were you, Stephen A. They're not going to catch the Red Sox in the East. They have too far to go and not enough time, and they're still way too injured. But when they get to October, and they're going to October, they are going to have Judge back. They're going to have Sanchez back. They're going to have Didi back. They're going to be at full strength. They're going to be the greatest hitting home team in one season in the history of baseball. I think that's going to happen. And they're pitching better than I think most people think it is. I think they are going to be a headache for everyone in October if, of course, they can get through the wild card game. If they can get through that, they are going to be a very dangerous team.
This is my problem with Tim Kurkjian, the great Tim Kurkjian. Because, Tim, here's what I'm thinking. I'm listening to you wax eloquently about all things great about the New York Yankees, and all that was on my mind before you said it was that damn wild card game. One game could ruin everything. After a 162-game season, one game in their night could be over. And there you go. You brought it up. What have you done to try and get rid of this wild card scenario? Are you one of the people that actually like it?
I actually like it, Stephen A. It's going to change because of this year, because potentially a win team is going to lose a one-game playoff, and somebody's going to say, no, we have to change the rules here. We're going to put the teams with the best record straight in the playoffs, and the teams, whether you won the division or not, are going to have to play a one-game wild card. I think it brings a Game 7 feel to the beginning of October. And even though it's grotesquely unfair to teams certain years, I get it. If we decided we're going to play best out of 3 to see who the wild card is, now you win the division, and you might have to wait 8 days before you play a playoff game because you're waiting for the wild card games to be over. That doesn't serve any purpose. This is a daily game, and to play it well, you have to play it every day. This is not basketball. So I think the way it's set up now is okay, but I repeat, they're going to look at this. If a really good team gets bounced after one game, they're going to say, are we doing this the right way?
Are you happy with what you're seeing from the New York Yankees as you project into the future, the addition of Happ, along with the way Severino and Sabathia and Tanaka have been pitching? Because I'm of the mindset that, you know what, with Houston in the division, with the Red Sox looking as formidable as they have looked, the Yankees needed to get DeGrom. And I know I wasn't there for it. The Mets didn't want to do it. But in the end, I'm still feeling it takes that caliber of a guy into the Yankees rotation for us to have legitimate reason to elevate our confidence in the Yankees postseason prospects. To that you say what?
Well, I would agree with you that DeGrom is exactly what they needed, and the Mets were not going to deal him unless they got Gleyber Torres and Miguel Andujar in that deal, and that wasn't going to happen. You asked me how I feel about the Yankees. The second baseman is a terrific young player. The third baseman is a terrific young player, and that doesn't even mention Stanton and Judge and Sanchez and the rest. Happ has been absolutely great in 5 starts. I saw him pitch Saturday in Baltimore. Sonny Gray pitched really well in Baltimore on Saturday night. I'm not saying he's the answer. I'm saying they can pitch well enough with this team to go to the World Series and win the World Series. I wouldn't make them the favorites, but when they get healthy, Stephen, to repeat, they are going to be really, really good.
Tim Kurkjian, who are your favorites?
Well, I think the Red Sox are still the favorites, but they've lost 6 out of 8. Chris Sale's on the disabled list. They have a couple of spots that need to be shored up, but they're my favorite in the American League. The Cubs are my favorite in the National League, although the National League is so up in the air, we have no idea where that's going to end up. So I think we just need to wait on both leagues, but the American League playoffs, Stephen A., with Houston, the Yankees at full strength, the Red Sox, Cleveland, and probably the Oakland A's, who've been the hottest team in the league, the American League for the last few months. That's going to be one of the great American League playoffs ever. So the Yankees could be really good in the playoffs and still not get to the World Series because of how many really good teams are in the American League right now.
We're talking to the great Tim Kurkjian right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and, of course, simulcast on ESPN News. Oakland, I don't know what the hell has been going on with them. They've been phenomenal as of late, but it seems like once they caught up and tied the Houston Astros in the American League West, all of a sudden it woke Houston up. They now won 5 straight. They're in first place by a game and a half, 30 games over 500. Because of their pitching alone, to me, I don't put anybody over Houston, not even Boston. Now that you say what?
To that, I can't disagree with you. You asked me to pick a favorite. I picked the Red Sox. The Astros starting pitching is better than anybody starting pitching when it's right. And the other thing now is they've got Jose Altuve back. They are 5-0 since he came off the disabled list. That is not a coincidence. They can really swing it when they're right. And with Altuve and Correa back, they're really good offensively. But their starting pitching is better than New York's or Boston, even Cleveland's. And if they're really humming by October 1st, I'm going to have to change and say they're the team to beat. I'm just not positive about the back end of their bullpen. That's the only thing that I'm still not sure about with the Astros.
Let's go back to the National League for a second here. You were high on the Chicago Cubs for obvious reasons. They're in first place in their division. But the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, have only lost 5 games in the month of August. They had an interim manager. He's replaced Matheny. Talk to me about their success and how much do you attribute to the shakeup at the managerial spot that they've had?
Well, the Cardinal story is amazing. A month and a half ago, I thought they had no chance to make the playoffs, and now they have a really good chance to make the playoffs. The managerial switch had something to do with it. Those guys are playing a little freer, a little easier, and that helps in so many ways. The bullpen has been rebuilt. That's been a huge thing. The defense is so much better. Harrison Bader, their center fielder, adds defense and a tremendous amount of hustle and speed to that team, which has been invaluable. And Matt Carpenter, their second baseman, first baseman, second baseman, he plays everywhere. He had 4 doubles last night. He could be the MVP of the league as of the moment. That's how good he's been.
Yeah,
right. He might lead the league in homers as a leadoff hitter. He's tremendous, and that's why baseball is so good. Stephen A., halfway through the season, people wrote this team off, and now it looks like they're going to make it to the playoffs.
Tim, I got to admit, I remember once upon a time I was fantasizing. I didn't have anybody in the same sentence as Mike Trout because I know he's the man. He's just an absolute stud. But Bryce Harper obviously was somebody that was considered special. Once upon a time, we heard mumblings about how he could be a $400 million player, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody's saying that about him right now. At least prior to the All-Star break, he struggled miserably. How would you categorize his season thus far and the direction overall you believe his career is going in?
Well, it's been largely a disappointing season for him because his team is under 500, and for a couple months there, he was a way subpar player, especially given his talent. However, he's 25 years old. He's a great player. He's going to make a fortune in free agency, and he's going to go to a team, and he's going to help some team win the World Series, whether it's the Nationals, highly unlikely, or some other team, whether it's the Dodgers or somebody else. I just refuse to believe that a guy who shows up every day ready to tear your throat out and all he really cares about is winning is somehow going to be a disappointment to somebody. I just don't see it. I think wherever he goes in free agency, he's going to lift that team, and he's going to be a great player before he's done. He just hasn't had a great year or anything close to that.
And think about this. You're saying this about the kid. He's 25 years old and is having an awful season by most folks' account, but he's batting .249, 30 home runs, and 84 RBIs. I've seen worse. Tim Kurkjian.
It's all relative, Stephen A. We're talking about his talent. We're talking about he's better than this. And he's still right there in OPS. He's right there in walks. He's right there in homers. And he's just playing for a team that isn't very good right now. I think he will be recharged by wherever he's playing next year. He has a great sense of history. He wants to be the best, and he shows up every day to be the best. He's the guy, Stephen A., when he's not swinging well, he shows up for 2.5 hours on an off day and hits. He hits, and he hits some more. That's who he is.
Listen, two-part question, last thing, and I'll let you go. A, do you think he's going to stay in Washington past this season? I suspect that answer would be no, but you can tell me. And B, if he doesn't go there, who needs him most in your estimation?
I don't think he's going back to the Nationals. I think it's highly unlikely he resigns there, but we're still not sure. As for teams that need him the most, a lot of teams could use him. The Phillies, with a lot of money, could really use him in the middle of the order. The Dodgers, especially if they don't make the playoffs this year, which is now a possibility, could really use him on their club. Several other teams, who have money, the Diamondbacks and the Cubs, all sorts of teams certainly are going to be in the mix for him. But the question is going to be, how much is it going to cost? And if the cost is prohibitive, we may be down to 2, 3, maybe 4 teams. But whoever gets him is going to get a very good player at a very young age with a great resume behind it.
Is the cost going to be prohibitive with the Dodgers?
No, nothing is prohibitive with the Dodgers. So they have enough to afford whatever they want to do. It's just a matter of what do they really need first, and I think they could use him like almost any other team could.
Tim Kurkjian, I appreciate you. Love you. Thanks a lot for the great work, but stop laughing at me about my Yankees. It's very, very serious with me. It's very serious. I'm very concerned, Tim. I'm very concerned. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Don't be concerned, Stephen A. I'll see you soon.
Get Judge back in that lineup. How long does it take for a damn wrist injury to heal, for crying out loud? Get him back in there. Get him back in there. Thanks a lot, Tim. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Thanks again to the great Tim Kurkjian for being right here with Stephen A. Back to your calls and Tiger Woods' response about President Trump and why I don't think he's as wrong as some others may think so. In a minute with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Breaking news right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, simulcast on ESPN News. Odell Beckham Jr., according to our very own Josina Anderson, is nearing a new deal with the New York Giants that will make him the highest paid receiver in football. Once again, Odell Beckham Jr., star wide receiver for the New York Giants, is on the verge of inking a new multi-year deal with the New York Giants that will make him the highest paid wide receiver in football. I will share my thoughts with you on that at the top of hour number 2 of this show right here, the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, other than to say this. Los Angeles Rams, what the hell are you doing with Aaron Donald? Los Angeles Rams, what the hell are you doing with Aaron Donald? You can bring in a wide receiver and Brandon Cooks and take care of him. You can take care of Todd Gurley with 2 years left on his deal. You can bring in Ndamukong Suh on a 1-year deal. You can acquire Marcus Peters from Kansas City and Aqib Talib from Denver, but you can't take care of Aaron Donald. Los Angeles Rams, what the hell are you doing? We'll talk about that a little bit more in hour number 2 as well. Getting back to what I said before the break about Tiger Woods and his comments about the president respecting the office. Let me explain to you what I say when I agree with Tiger Woods. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm fully aware of how a lot of people feel about President Trump. I share a lot of those sentiments, strictly as it pertains to his behavior. I'm not talking policy. His behavior. I think it's atrocious. And losing a great, great man and a great patriot like John McCain over the weekend, Senator John McCain out of Arizona, who passed away. My heartfelt condolences to his family and loved ones. I've had the pleasure of meeting John McCain in the past, interviewing him and talking to him on several occasions over the years. Had he ever been our president, I did not vote for him over Obama, of course, but had he ever been our president, I would have been honored to call him the president of the United States. A great man. What we remember about our president is that he once said, I prefer that you don't get caught, when talking about John McCain as a war hero. And then takes 2 days to raise flags at the White House. Having said all of that, Tiger Woods makes a point. Not that that was his point, but the overall or the underlying point is that you respect the office because the office is the highest office in our country. You can speak ill of someone and how they act, but always keep the office in mind because it's the right thing to do as American citizens. I'll talk about that and more. Hour number 2 up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia.
Fansville.
Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Delicious.
Where every day is Saturday and everyone's a fan, even babies.
Fan babies.
And the seasons never change because the only season is college football season. Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show, here with you on ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, and of course, ESPN Radio, the Stephen A. Smith Show, simulcast live on ESPN News Television. The number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You can catch me on Twitter at Stephen A. Smith, on Instagram at Stephen A. Smith, on Facebook /Stephen A. Smith as well. So feel free to do that. By the way, when a player doesn't like a contract, they hold out, right? Well, with Straight Talk Wireless, you never have to because there is no contract. And they use the same exact 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com. Also, need game tickets? Find your seats at Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Enter promo code ESPN at checkout and receive 10% off your order today. Vivid Seats. Ladies and gentlemen, if I sound a little bit differently, there is a reason. The reason would be that had a little throat procedure, had my vocal cords compromised a little bit. I've been instructed not to raise my voice to optimum levels. So for those of you who love hearing Screaming A, you're going to have to settle for Stephen A. I think it's more than good enough. But nevertheless, you just need to know my voice is a little bit compromised. But I'm here. I didn't think I was going to be here, believe it or not. But I'm here and ecstatic about it. So it is what it is. But I am pretty ticked off about a couple of things. The Sixers, the Philadelphia 76ers. I'll get into that in just a little bit. So, a story developing there that I wanted to express myself on. I definitely wanted to do that. And I'll get back into Trump in a minute with Tiger Woods. But let me say this. Odell Beckham Jr. is a superstar. He is box office. I understand that. I truly, truly do. Odell Beckham Jr. does not deserve to be the highest paid wide receiver in football. Top 3, yes. Hell, we could debate top 2. I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. deserves to get paid more than Antonio Brown. I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. deserves to get paid more than Julio Jones. I think you're a wide receiver. You're limited to some degree in what you can do as a wide receiver. His durability clearly is a question mark, at least at this particular juncture. Not to mention the fact some of the issues that affected the New York Giants, which, by the way, I don't think should have been issues. Odell Beckham Jr. has never been arrested. He's never been suspended from missing games. When he got into it, years ago, with the cornerback from Carolina Panthers, my buddy, and I don't know why I've got brain lock right now. Josh Norman, I'm sorry. Here's my attitude. None of those things prevented Odell Beckham Jr. from going on the field and performing. But it did create in the mind's eye the New York Giants harboring this belief that he was the type of individual that once we gave money to him, he wouldn't be as trustworthy because he knows he's getting paid. And as a result, he would be more of a headache. My response would be, well, that's when Ben McAdoo was the coach. And some could say when Tom Coughlin was trying to get along because he was worried about keeping his job in New York. But to me, it's a new day. With Gettleman there and Shermer there, I think it's a new day. And as a result, I don't think that you have to worry about that with Odell Beckham Jr., not to mention that you didn't really have much to worry about to begin with. I'm going to say this. Odell Beckham Jr. certainly deserves at least $16 million a year. Odell Beckham Jr. is clearly box office and a superstar in the making. There's no question about that. But I just think that when you got guys, particularly someone like Antonio Brown, who year in and year out goes out there and produces the way that he produces, I don't believe that you deserve to get paid more money than him playing the same position. I'm the kind of guy that doesn't, and I understand the market dictates a lot. Please don't get me wrong. I don't believe that Matthew Stafford and Matt Ryan should be getting paid more than Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. I don't believe that. Not for 1 second. I believe that, yeah, you've got to gauge what you project somebody's going to be, and you got to pay for what you believe somebody will do, not just what they've done. But I also think what you've done should matter. I think that it's a recipe or an ingredient or an indication of what your capabilities are. And it speaks to the level of trust that should be given to you or lack thereof. When, to me, ladies and gentlemen, more so than injury, the one thing I hold against Odell Beckham Jr. is going to Miami, partying a week of a playoff game on the boat, albeit it was an off day, partying on an off day, the week of a playoff game, and then going to Green Bay and stinking up the joint. Now, if you going to Green Bay and you balled, I wouldn't have said anything. But to go to Green Bay and not ball after clearly not being completely 100% focused on the task at hand, which is a playoff game against the Green Bay Packers, that is the only playoff performance in Odell Beckham Jr.'s career. I can give you plenty of performances by Antonio Brown. And by the way, if we're going to take care of Odell Beckham Jr., how come Aaron Donald isn't taken care of? If we're going to take care of Odell Beckham Jr., how come Le'Veon Bell isn't taken care of? You talk about brothers that need to be taken care of and need to be paid. It would be those guys. It would be those guys. I've got no problem with Odell Beckham Jr. getting his money. He's a star. And I got a lot of love for him. But I'm going to be real with you and tell you, he ain't Antonio Brown. Not in terms of reliability and resume. He's not. He's not Antonio Brown. And he's not Le'Veon Bell. And if you're the Steelers and you haven't taken care of Le'Veon Bell yet, I got a problem. If you're the Los Angeles Rams and you haven't taken care of Aaron Donald yet, I've got a problem. I also got a problem with Philadelphia on two fronts. Number one is Carson Wentz. I don't believe that Doug Peterson was truculent or abrasive in any way towards the media when he was talking about Carson Wentz this weekend. He's like, how many different times do you want me to answer this question? He's not a doctor, ladies and gentlemen. He's not a doctor. Carson Wentz will be available when the doctors say he's available. Until then, Doug Peterson has to work with what he has. And by the way, let's speak about what he has to work with. Doug Peterson has to work with the reigning Super Bowl MVP in backup quarterback Nick Foles. An offensive line that's considered one of the best in football. A running game in Jay Ajayi and Corey Clement that is pretty damn good. Receivers that are reliable in Alshon Jeffrey and Nelson Aguilar. A wide receiver in Zach Ertz that's returning with something to prove. The addition of Mike Wallace to extend the field for you. Because Torrey Smith didn't do that for you last year. What is your problem, Philadelphia? You're the reigning defending Super Bowl champions. Why are y'all tripping? Why are y'all in panic mode? For what? Carson Wentz. It should not matter to the Philadelphia Eagles if Carson Wentz is ready for week 1 or week 5. Nick Foles should be able to handle that. He really should. Doug Peterson and the rest of the Eagles should be able to handle that, especially with the defense that they have, particularly with that defensive line. They should be able to handle that. And if you can't handle that, shame on you. What is the problem? Why are you panicking? What are you scared about? The Giants, oh my God, they've got Saquon Barkley now. Stop the presses. Who, by the way, is somehow, some way rated as one of the top 100 players in the NFL, even though he hasn't played a game yet. Figure that one out for me. You're talking about the Redskins. Their offense is going to be good if their thin offensive line can protect Alex Smith. But we don't know whether or not that's going to be the case. And how about Jordan Reed staying healthy? That would be nice. Doc says he's going to be ready to step up. Their defensive line could be monsters. I get all of that, but we'll see what happens. So you got that as an issue. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys. I know it was just a preseason game. I know none of the starters played, but 8 turnovers, laughing stock. Didn't that tell you how thin they are? Dallas Cowboys, what do I always tell you? What can go wrong will go wrong. They are an accident waiting to happen. Something's going to happen with the Cowboys. I don't know what it is. I just know it's something that's going to derail them. It's what always happens. It's who they are. And the sooner you all accept that, the better off you will be. The Dallas Cowboys, they're just that way. And we all know that I'm biased. I'll be the first to admit it, but I am not biased against the Cowboys. I'm biased against Cowboy fans. I can't stand them. They make me sick. They really, really, really do. The Dallas Cowboys, a nuclear bomb could drop and one of these damn Dallas Cowboy fans would survive. I'm trying to tell you. 1-15 season, 3-13 season, 5-11 season, 7-9 season, 8-8 season. It doesn't matter. They don't make the playoffs after sticking out their chest all year long, talking about what they're going to do, only to fall flat on their face for about a quarter century now and counting. And somehow, some way, ladies and gentlemen, the season, game 16, week 17, can be over at 7 o'clock. By 7:15, the Dallas Cowboy fan will look you in the face. You know we're going to win the Super Bowl next year, right? They are the most sickening, nauseating, disgusting fan base that I have ever encountered. They never, ever smell themselves. Dallas Cowboy fans are the equivalent of folks who refuse to take a bath, but put on perfume and think they smell right. This is who they are. That's who a Cowboy fan is. It's not Jerry Jones. It's not Ezekiel Elliott. It's not Dak Prescott. It's not the players. It's not the uniform. It's not, damn sure ain't the cheerleaders. It's them damn Cowboy fans. It's who they are. And so yet again, we have seen that something will go wrong with them. It's just the way that it is. It's just the way that it is. Other story in Philadelphia, however, before I get to Tiger and Trump again. See, this is the stuff right there. And I'm looking at my producer, John, because he always says calm. I say, see, this is the kind of stuff that gets on my nerves about the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I know they ain't that relevant. They ain't win the East. Boston smacked them around in 5 games. We get all of that. But let me tell y'all why this story is relevant to me right now. The Philadelphia 76ers, do y'all know they still don't have a general manager after letting go of Brian Colangelo because of that whole a secret Twitter account that his wife evidently was messing with, used to get after people and stuff. Brian Colangelo still has not been replaced. But 76ers managing partner Josh Harrod told ESPN that the franchise's general manager search is identifying new targets to meet an interview, but he didn't rule out leaving the interim structure in place for the coming season. Quote, it does leave open that possibility. We prefer to find an elite talent who can lead us, but we aren't going to compromise. So as a result, because he doesn't want to compromise, ladies and gentlemen, Brett Brown, who, by the way, I support contract extension at all, who I think is a good coach, but I will never apologize for saying that man blew 3 games in the playoffs against Boston. I've never seen a coach do that. I don't give a damn what anybody says. He blew 3 games. They weren't ready to play in game 1. He gave up that huge lead without a substitution or a timeout or anything called in game 2. And he had J.J. Redick on an inbounds trying to be a point guard in game 3. You blew 3 games. I don't care what anybody says. But he's still a good man and a good coach, and I wish him luck. But he blew 3 games. But he is your interim GM. He is your interim GM. All right. And then look who we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen. The franchise's interim GM surrounded with front office executives Ned Cohen, Mark Eversley, and Elton Brand. The Sixers are promoting those 3 executives today into expanded roles and new titles, league sources said. So in other words, Cohen, who's the assistant GM, Eversley, who's the senior VP of player personnel, and the primary day-to-day operators of the front office, with Brand, who's VP of basketball operations. So in other words, you don't have a GM. You just got an amalgamation of voices. But there's no one definitive basketball voice upon which to lie. See, this is the damn problem. Now, you just got your behind spanked in the postseason by Boston. Hey, John, who's the general manager? Who's the president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics? Who would that guy be? I think it's somebody by the name of Danny Ainge, who is widely recognized as arguably the best in the business. While you've got this coach who just got outcoached as your interim GM as well. The person who outcoached him is definitively just the coach. Who would that guy be? Arguably the best young coach in the world in basketball, who would happen to be Brad Stevens. But you playing around with all of these bodies, acting like this is some damn trip to the restaurant with a bunch of chefs. I mean, what the hell is wrong with y'all? This makes absolutely no sense on the part of the Philadelphia 76ers. It's ass backwards. And they need to change it. Period. It's just backwards. I take out the A word. I apologize. These are Walt Disney airwaves. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Have a GM. And oh, by the way, this is the most insulting part. You know, we prefer to find an elite talent who can lead us, but we aren't going to compromise. Mr. Josh Harris, I got 2 suggestions for you. How about David Griffin, the former general manager who helped deliver the Cleveland Cavaliers a championship? It wasn't just LeBron. It was the guy who got him some of those players he said he wanted. How about Joe Dumars? You know, that former executive for the Detroit Pistons who guided the Pistons to 6 straight conference finals appearances, back-to-back NBA finals appearances, and delivered an NBA championship, was an executive of the year award winner, who is one of the elite executives that this game has ever seen, who has been unemployed for the last few years. I just gave you 2 right there without even thinking about it. Joe Dumars, David Griffin. How about those 2 names? I'm sure if you purview the landscape, you can find assistant GMs that would do an outstanding job for you. This is just embarrassing. What the hell is this? And then you got Joel Embiid out there talking about, he's looking forward to having an MVP season. I love Joel Embiid. He's a star. Need him to play better with his back to the basket before he start talking about an MVP. Love Ben Simmons, superstar in the making. LeBron James part 2 if he gets a jump shot. Until he gets a jump shot, he's a liability. And oh, by the way, the people that you acquire who can shoot, if they can't put the ball on the floor, folks are just going to do what the Boston Celtics did, chase them off the 3-point line and make them put the ball on the floor and create a shot for themselves. And they can't do it. And Ben Simmons can't do but so much for you because he can't shoot. So I don't know what y'all are talking about. You need a GM. And you need somebody that knows how to build a damn team. This is just ridiculous. Enough's enough. Unless you want to be second fiddle Philadelphia 76ers. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Now let me get back to Trump and Tiger Woods. First of all, understand that in the eyes of the black community, we don't usually appreciate much about what Tiger Woods has to say. We understand that although his father was an African American who also was of native descent and what have you, and his mother was Thai, I believe, that is the impetus behind Tiger Woods classifying himself as Cannibalian or something like that years ago. In other words, he's not black. Because to call himself an African American or to call himself black is to disassociate himself from his mother's heritage, which he didn't want to do because he thought it would be insulting to her. Well, listen, we all love our mamas. I know I would be sensitive to my mother, God rest her soul, if that were the case, and I get all of that. But I also know that once upon a time throughout our history, if 1/8 of you were black, that's what you were labeled. You certainly were treated that way. And we all know that the treatment of minorities in this country is different than what it's been for most other folks. And here's the reality. When Tiger Woods got arrested in May of 2017, when he was behind the wheel of his car inebriated because of those drugs that he was taking, painkillers, whatever the hell it was, because of the surgeries that he was enduring, the classification on his arrest was that he was black. It said nothing about cannibalization. It said nothing about that whatsoever. It said he was black. So they identified you. Why? Because they ain't getting into all of those theatrics. They ain't getting into all of that stuff. They're looking at your pigmentation, your hue, the color of your skin, and they're saying, excuse me, you're a black man. Period. So knowing that, the black community don't really take too seriously to what he has to say. Because we don't expect him to say much. He's not a political person, and that's his right. And I'm not going to insult him about that. And when he sits there and says, well, you know what? Got a relationship, and, I was playing golf with the president before he was president, and blah. Listen, that's to be respected. And obviously, Tiger Woods, being a billionaire, lives in a different world. We understand all of that, too. But here's where I can't castigate him. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that we got to grow up as Americans. We've got to be mindful of the fact that when you are the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, that makes you the most powerful man in the world based on your position. And throwing shrapnels of criticisms and beyond, there are times where you have to ask yourself, what is that going to accomplish? If you are Tiger Woods and you are a global iconic figure that's traveling to different nations, I do think it's incumbent upon you to speak eloquently about such situations and circumstances if you're going to speak at all. I do think it's important to be careful and to be safe. I do think it's important for you to have the perspective that I'm an American. And I might feel a certain way about somebody, but do I need to broadcast it all over the world, to the world, while I'm in another country? If you remember, that's one of the issues that folks had with the president when he was standing next to the Russian president. Because if you're going to speak about your former competitive candidate or you're going to speak about officials, don't do it in that platform. Same principle applies. Doesn't matter who's in the office sometimes. You can say what you say. You can feel what you feel. You can spew the facts until the cows come home. But in terms of the insults and beyond, do I think we have a heightened level of responsibility to be careful about how we speak from time to time? Yes, I do. And in that regard, I think Tiger Woods made a point, even if he wasn't trying to. That's the point I took from it. There's a lot of things I'd like to say. Certain things are just not appropriate. Certain things are not just right. And that's how you have to think about it. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, back with more in a few.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
To the phones we go at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Let's go to Patrick. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Patrick. How are you?
Hi, Stephen A. This is Patrick from Louisville. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, buddy. You're live on the air.
I'm a West Point graduate and Army officer previously. So I totally understand what you mean about respecting the office of the presidency. However, I don't think that means that that gives Tiger Woods a pass as far as declaring what his relationship is with Donald Trump.
I agree.
Or whether or not he agrees with certain things that Donald Trump has said.
Stop right there. You're going a bit too far. You know why? Because he said nothing about what he feels one way or another about anything that Donald Trump has said or done. What he basically said is, I was playing golf and eating dinner with the man before he was president, and I still do it now. That's basically what he said.
Yeah, so I think that's what he was trying to head off, like, hey, be careful, not to disrespect the presidency. For one, I think if it was any other president we were talking about, yeah, that would make sense. But we got to remember that Donald Trump, his platform was built on disrespecting the previous president. So just keeping it real, like we try to keep it real.
No. You make a valid point. He tried to delegitimize the president, his own citizenship within this country. There's no doubt about that.
Exactly. And my kids I'm African American, and my wife is Asian. And my kids experience discrimination as any other black kid in this country. So as far as him trying to declare himself as something other than black, that's not how culturally we're accepted in this country. So he's living in some type of dreamland there, no matter whether he's a poor or a billionaire.
I agree with you there, Patrick.
I don't give him that pass.
I agree with you there, Patrick. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Tim. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Tim?
Hello.
Go ahead, Tim. You're live on the air, buddy.
Oh, good. How you doing, Stephen A? First of all, let me commend you as far as the way that you attack subjects and issues with knowledge and common sense. And the most important part is common sense. Allow me to give a scenario to you as far as the NFL. I don't know if you're old enough to remember the Frankenstein movie.
Yeah, man, I don't know if my listeners are old enough to remember, but I'm going to need you to get to your point a little bit quicker, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Dr. Frankenstein created a monster that he couldn't manage, and that's the NFL, as far as with these issues with hitting. I grew up, and I remember looking at a tape of Dick Butkus, and I remember him saying, I envision hitting somebody so hard that their head would roll, and I envision it happening to them, not to me. The NFL glorified those type of hits, and now they're trying to cut back, and they're ruining the game. I understand protecting players, but there's only so much that you can do.
Yeah, well, listen, there's but so much you can do. See, here's the responsibility that I think falls on the players. You have a lot of people that have been suing the NFL. And the NFL has been accused, and to some degree there may be some veracity to those reports, that there was more that they knew about concussions and CTE, for example, than they were willing to let on. And so because of that, there's a level of culpability and responsibility that they've had thrusted upon their shoulders, and clearly they feel compelled enough to address it because they've doled out in excess of $500 million in payments to retired players and lawsuits and the like. So with that being reality for them, there's no way to escape it. And since there's no way to escape it, you have to deal with it head on because what you want to do is that if you go to the court of law in the future, if you find yourself in that position or that predicament, you're saying we've exhausted every measure imaginable to address these issues. There's but so much we can do. That's what you want to say. That's the message and the imagery, optics wise, that you want to set off. And I think that's what the NFL is trying to do here. We'll see if they're successful or not. But I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Let's go to Mark. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Mark. Mark, are you there?
Yes.
Mark, go ahead. You're live on the air, buddy. You're live on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right, man. Thank you for calling.
Hey, my heart goes out to you and your family for your recent loss.
Thank
you. This comments with, Tiger Woods and, I agree with you a lot. I bleed black and gold. And, it's when that man don't respect the office, it makes it real hard to respect him.
Who are you talking about?
And
who's not respecting the office?
Donald Trump.
Oh, got you. Okay. I thought you was talking about Tiger Woods.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, with the loss of John McCain, not flying that flag at half staff.
Well, let me use John McCain as example. The Honorable John McCain, and God rest his soul. God bless his soul, and our hearts go out to his family and loved ones. I had the pleasure of meeting John McCain and talking to him over the years on several occasions. He was a great patriot and a great American, and I'm going to miss him dearly. Let me say this, though. John McCain clearly had his differences with the president. And what you're saying about the president in terms of him not respecting the office, in terms of his behavior, etc., it makes it difficult to respect him. That's true. Can I ask you a somewhat rhetorical question, Mark?
Sure.
John McCain was never shy about speaking out against the president, to my knowledge. Am I correct?
You're absolutely correct.
Right. But did he not do so respectfully?
Yes, he did.
So what I'm saying to you is that no one said that, a matter of fact, one could challenge whether or not several senators or several elected officials respect our president because of how they believe he conducts himself. But it doesn't stop them from operating respectfully because of the office. So that is what I am saying has a point. I remember when George W. Bush won the presidency over Al Gore, when the polls basically indicated that Al Gore should have won. And you've got these hanging chads and all of these issues going on in Florida. I can tell you right now, there were an abundance of minorities, particularly, who felt that Al Gore got robbed. Don't get me started with how the overall liberal movement felt about it. They didn't think that there was legitimacy that should be attached to the presidency of George W. Bush. But once he was sworn in, even Al Gore said, we have to come together as a nation. The decision has been made. We're a nation of laws, and we have to make sure that while we protest, and we do so vigorously, and we exercise our rights as American citizens to highlight and even denigrate what is bad, we have to make sure to at least keep the office in mind and not act like it doesn't exist when in fact we know it does. We can't ignore that reality. Whether you like it or not, he's the commander in chief, and he has tremendous influence when it comes to potential wars, our economy, immigration, etc. So you could speak out against him. We could all speak out against it. We could abhor what we see and what we don't like, etc., etc. But it doesn't negate the fact that while doing so, we must be mindful of the office. Because if we let go of decorum and we let go of how we're supposed to conduct ourselves in the throes of throwing vitriol in that direction, what makes us better than any other nation?
Yeah, you're right. I just wish he would show us as a whole nation.
So do I.
In a better light.
And I'm saying to you, I completely agree with you. But we've got no chance at pulling that off or ultimately getting someone else in office who will capitulate to our wishes if we decide to conduct ourselves the way we abhor him conducting himself. We have no shot at pulling that off. And that's what I'm saying.
You are correct. You are right.
I appreciate the call, Mark. I got to run. Thank you so much for the call. Your calls and more to close out the show in a minute. Reminder, Odell Beckham Jr. of the New York Giants has agreed to a 5-year, $95 million extension, $65 million total guaranteed, makes him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. I still think that should belong to Antonio Brown. But I'm not saying Odell Beckham Jr. should have gotten less. I'm saying Antonio Brown should be making more. Your calls to close out the show in a minute with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Back to the phones we go. Keep your comments quick, or I will make them quick for you. Let's go to Desmond in Vegas. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Steven, I'm a big fan. I need to say this to all the Kobe people that want to disrespect LeBron. Kobe is retired. He's no longer a Laker anymore. And if you want to sit there, I'm going to bring up old history. 2003, Kobe gets busted. He sits there. He does the most dirty thing I've ever seen. He snitched on Shaq.
Stop right there. Stop right there. I'm not going to let you do this. Goodbye, Desmond. You're not going to call up to my show and disrespect Kobe Bryant today. Kobe Bryant's retired. You bringing up something from 2003, that's cruel, number one. Number two, Kobe Bryant is the one that came to the defense of LeBron James and how the Laker fans will jump on board because, it's about championships. And you ain't been in the playoffs for 5 years, and LeBron's going to help eradicate that. You know, sometimes people get a bit extreme. No, I'm not going to let you do that. Not to my man Kobe. It's not going to happen. Jeff, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Jeff, go.
Hey, Stephen A. Do you think with the way the rules in the NFL are going to, less hard hitting, less helmets, that it's worth paying Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald that type of money?
Yes.
Knowing that they're kind of bottlenecked? Even?
No. The bottom line is they're high-end producers. They produce, they deliver the goods, and you're giving that money to somebody. Now, if nobody was getting the money, that's different. But you're giving the money to somebody. Why not give it to cornerstones of your franchise on the defensive side of the ball when defense is proven to win championships? I believe both deserve their money. Have a good day. Matt, you're live with Stephen A. What's up? Matt,
yeah, Stephen A.
You're live on the air. Go ahead. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, much condolences to your family, man. Much respect also. But,
Thank you.
I basically, as far as the NFL goes, as far as the hitting and all that, it's like we see preseason that it's causing more leg injuries, and it basically is going to lead to what is it going to lead to? I mean, it's going to lead to a worse NFL, more leg injuries.
Again, it's not so much listen. It's not the fact that you just hitting somebody in the legs. You can grab, you can use your arm to strip tackle them or trip tackle them or what have you. What the NFL is trying to dissuade is folks using their helmets as the first mode of contact against an opponent. In other words, wrap them around your arms, your shoulders, etc. Now, if their knee gets hurt that way, what do you want them to do? That comes with the game of football, but you shouldn't be launching into the missile style with your helmet. That's what you're trying to dissuade.
Also, another point is also with these referees, it's only another way that, they can disregard the game. Any game can stop with any opinionated call.
I got you. I appreciate the call. You're right, but the officials have the power. And they're not trying to empower the officials. If anything, they're trying to manipulate the game and using officials to do it. Either way, I think the NFL needs to be careful because you can endanger the game from becoming into becoming less attractive than it is. And that's what they got to watch out for. The game's already damn